Welcome back to Dom Solo, everybody. I am, of course, your host, Dom Martino, and I have just seen The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 6, Chapter 14. I'm sorry about that, The Tragedy. And I have a lot to say about it. Let's break it down. But of course, before we get started, please hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, and share this with your friends. Also, a quick note for those of you wondering where Josh Richards is, he unfortunately could not make it in this week, but we should have him back next week. So look forward to that. So, yeah, let's talk about this episode. Season 2, Chapter 5, or I'm sorry, Season 2, Episode 6, Chapter 14, The Tragedy. And it's always a mouthful to try to get all that out, but I did it. So, yeah, so my overall thoughts on this episode was basically that it was very surprising. I mean, a lot of things that people were speculating were going to happen didn't happen, and that's okay. I mean, really, it's better to be unpredictable, I think. Robert Rodriguez directed this episode, by the way, and I knew he did. I knew he did before the credits even rolled. Like, I saw all the action going on. This episode was really like an action flick. And I just knew it was Robert Rodriguez's style before the credits rolled. You just felt it. It was there. Some of the things were just very up his alley, and I think that he was right to direct this episode for sure because you really needed that gritty style, especially with some of the characters that were brought in. Obviously, this is spoiler heavy, guys. So if you haven't seen the episode, I would back out now. So just make sure you do that. I'm putting up the big spoiler warning now for you guys. But yeah, guys. So this was a lot of fun. You know, thank you for tuning in if you're watching this, and let's really dive into this. So it starts out with Mando. It wastes no time. I mean, Din Djarin's just taking Grogu to the Seeing Stone immediately. He's going right to Tython, and they land over there, and you see the top of the mountain that Ahsoka was referring to. So yeah, and it looks pretty cool. It looks like something out of Jedi Fallen Order. A lot of people were kind of pointing that out already. And I agree. I couldn't agree more. It looked like something that you would see in Jedi Fallen Order, the video game. For those of you who don't know, uh, and it was just awesome to see that. And he's like, "Well, I guess this is where I have to take you." I thought the moments, the exchanges between Din Djarin and Grogu were pretty adorable. To be honest with you, so that was really nice to see. So they land on top of this mountain, and he's ready to place his child in the Seeing Stone. And I actually did kind of chuckle when he was like, "So this is the Seeing Stone. Are you seeing anything?" That little pun, I guess. So there was that, and then he's looking around with his oh, what would you call that? I know the word for it. I just can't think of it right now. You guys know what I'm talking about. Where he thermal. Jesus, he's looking around with his thermal vision, and he's like, maybe there's a trigger around somewhere. So there was that. That was pretty cool. Um, I have a couple issues with this episode, and we'll get into that here in a bit. But the thermal comes into play here in a minute, but and that's one of the issues. But the child, he finally well, you see a ship fly overhead, right, of the top of the mountain, and if you're a fan, you know it's the Slave One, and then Din Djarin's like, "All right, kid, time to go." Turns around, and the kid's in touch with the Force, right, and we actually see like a force field all around him, which I thought was pretty interesting, and it looked really cool. So we're seeing this happen, which this is amazing that we're seeing this, and it's just moving this fast. So we know we're heading toward a pretty epic finale. I feel like we're seeing these really big things happen, but we know it's the Slave One, and we know who's coming. It's going to be Boba Fett, right? It has to be. I thought it was cool to see the Slave One. It's still one of my, even though like, and I'm on record saying that Boba Fett, I'm not a Boba Fett fan as much as I am a Star Wars fan. Like, a lot of people love Boba Fett. Jon Favreau, who wrote the show, obviously loves Boba Fett. So I understand why he's got to be here, because Favreau's like, okay, if I'm doing Star Wars, I'm bringing Boba Fett back, right? Makes sense. So I'm okay with it. It doesn't ruin it. Like, I don't dislike the character. I've never been like sold on him, right? Like, I've explained that in the past. Return of the Jedi to me just really made him a joke. Like, just when the way he died. I mean, come on. I mean, there really has not been a lot to this character other than the fact that his father, who also went out. I like Jango Fett better, by the way, but his father, got his head chopped off, and so he wants to avenge his father, and that's like a cool thing. Excuse me. So, but other than that, like, there's really no development to Boba Fett for me. So this is where I was like, I'm open to, obviously this show making me a fan of Boba Fett. Favreau's such a fan. I want to see why Favreau is such a fan. So I was hoping he'd write a story for this character that can win me over as well. Yeah, so this episode, I will say right off the bat, it definitely did. I mean, Boba Fett, the direction that they took him, and the badassery and everything was cool. I've never seen Boba Fett at that capacity. Nobody really has, I don't think. So people who are fans had to be excited, which also made me excited. Like, I'm excited when things happen in Star Wars that make other Star Wars fans excited, even though it's not necessarily meant for me. Like, I can definitely see, like, especially in the action moments, which we'll get to in a minute, a little bit more in depth, but, when Boba's, doing his thing, I mean, what happens, but I could see it. I could see the fans, like, if this was playing in the theater, like, a whole bunch of fans just screaming. Like, I almost heard it in my head. You know what I mean? It was like they were setting up that moment. I know so many fans jumped up off their couches and cheered when this happened. So, exciting, very exciting stuff. So, there is that going on, and the badassery was cool, man. I mean, he really kicks ass in this episode. But let's jump back a little bit here. So, and one of the things, this is one of the problems I have with the thermal is the enemies were all red, and it shows to a degree that Robert Rodriguez is definitely like a gamer. He takes a lot of influences from video games because that's like something you'd see in a video game. You're looking through your thermal, and your enemies are red. It just doesn't make sense to me that the thermal just senses bad people. Somebody who's a threat to you at the moment, and because we've seen him use the thermal in other episodes, and they weren't red; they were all different colors. So, yeah, I had a slight issue with that, but nothing that ruined the episode. Like, there's no issue I had that ruined this episode. This episode was awesome. It drove the story forward, and obviously, I was bummed out at the end. But we'll get into all that. So, moving into this, he goes down. I mean, he's like, "Okay, kid, I'm gonna try to buy you some time here. Hurry up." So he runs down to see. He sees Boba Fett. Well, first of all, he gets shot at, and once you see the gun, it's kind of like, "Oh yeah, that's Boba Fett's weapon." Especially if you played like the Battlefront 2 games, you really know it's Boba Fett's weapon. I mean, you see it in the original trilogy too. Don't get me wrong, but. Yeah, that's definitely Boba Fett shooting at him. So he gets up, and Boba Fett tells him, I've come for my armor. Makes sense. He's been tracking him, right? And took him a long time to get to him, but I'm assuming tracking takes a long time for even somebody as at the caliber of badassery as Boba Fett. It would still take a long time, especially without his armor and his own thermal and all that. So you got that going on with it, and so Din Djarin's like, well, are you a Mandalorian? Which I like. He's perfectly willing. He believes in the Mandalorian culture so much, and he's perfectly willing to give it to Boba Fett. But Boba Fett's like, I'm just a guy, trying to make my way along the galaxy, which I thought was awesome because that was something that Jango Fett had said to Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones. Obviously, it's Tamara Morrison playing Boba Fett here, and it's so cool to see him back in the Star Wars in full form finally. He's been teased a couple times, but we never really got to see him talk and everything. And, obviously when he was in Star Wars before, he was playing Jango Fett. So it was really cool to see him back as the son now, Boba Fett. And it makes a lot of sense. And, he's all scarred up from the Sarlacc pit. So that's it's really cool. I liked his look a lot. Like, I thought that was one of the cooler things they did is they were just consistent with what had happened to him in the past, and they gave him this amazing look. So yeah, I was really thrilled with that personally, and I know again a lot of Star Wars fans, even though it wasn't catered toward me, a lot of other Star Wars fans are excited about seeing him finally in full form, and they're like, I could just imagine like even when the Slave One showed up, that would have been the first sort of fan servicey moment where fans would have got it off their couches and jumped up and did a dance and cheered, and they were like, "Oh, finally, this is the episode. This is where we get to see Boba Fett." The other thing that I wanted to say too is like after watching this in its entirety, makes a lot of sense that they're going to do a Boba Fett series, which has been reported it's already filming apparently. And I am actually finally excited for that show. Like, I cannot wait to spend more time with this character. Season 2 finale pending, because I want to see where all this goes. But I'm really won over on the character right now. I like the direction they took him. So, moving into, well, I mean, let's go into this. I mean, he's telling Mando, is like, give me the armor back, because Mando's refusing, right? Because he's not admitting to being Mandalorian. Which I get it. I get it. He's a hard head and he's very stubborn, right? And then you see a character I was surprised to see. He's like, my friend's got a sniper, on your little companion there. So because he initially said my friend's got a sniper up there, she'll take the shot. And Mando said, this Beskar ain't gonna do shit. I mean, pretty much, and we know that, and that makes sense because of what we saw previously. I mean, Ahsoka's lightsabers couldn't cut through it immediately, so made a lot of sense. Couldn't cut through them at all, actually. This pure Beskar. So we see what ends up happening is it turns out to be Fennec from last season is the sniper who has the sights on Grogu, who's up there, trying to do his thing with the Force. And we're like, ah, man. So he's in a corner. Obviously, he has to agree to give him the armor. Fennec comes down. He's like, how are you still alive? And I'm wondering that too. And I this is probably my biggest issue with the whole episode. I don't like the way that she was still alive. Like they could have done better with this. They made her apparently when Boba Fett found her, which was set up. I admittedly. That was something that was teased, and they did well with that. Like, I'm okay with him finding her, bringing her back, and all that kind of stuff. But the idea of the Beskar, excuse me 1 second here, guys. Sorry about that. You're probably hearing that noise and probably going, what the hell's going on? So sorry for the slight delay. Broke my own rule. Didn't turn my ringtone off. So I'm very upset with myself. But we will continue, and I will make sure that this is silenced, and you don't ever have to hear it again. So very, very sorry about that. My phone was all the way over there, and probably distracting the audio. So sorry about that. But hey, this is how we do things. Very, very raw, very real on this channel. So sorry about that again. Listen, so yeah, this is one of the things I just hated. So she's half human, half droid, and I'm sitting there like, that is bizarre, really bizarre. Like on one end, we'd never seen it before. It's just bizarre to me that Boba Fett just knew how to take, part of her and make her half droid. And it's like, it's weird because I feel like if he did that, she wouldn't be the same person. I mean, she still has her mind though. I don't know. There would be something internally that would just make her not think the same as Fennec. But I'm okay with the character still being alive and getting to know her more. I actually thought she was cool. That she was like one of the best parts of that episode she was in season one. Season one, episode 5. Chapter 5. I can't remember the exact title of it. It might have just been called Tatooine. I'm thinking about it. So yeah, I'm okay with it. Thought she was cool in the first season, so bring her back, sure. like to see more of her. I mean, anytime you can bring new characters in, which is one of the things I love about the show, I'm good with it. Bring in more new. So it helps expand it and not just bring in Boba Fett just for the fan service, right? You're bringing in somebody new with them. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, totally good with that. But just not the way they brought her back. It was just, I think they could have done something better. But it was interesting. It was something new, for sure. And maybe that idea will grow on me as time passes. I hope it does, because I really want to love this character. But so long as it has this setup, it's just going to be a little difficult for me to love her a lot. So there's that. But anyway, listen. So they get distracted before Mando is ready to make or Din Djarin is ready to make the exchange. I got to get used to calling these guys their real names, Din Djarin and Grogu. We called them Mando and the Child for so long, but so moving into this though, some Imperial ship comes down. We know it's troopers. It looks like one of the transports from Force Awakens for sure. So we know it's troopers coming down off this thing, and troopers come out and they start blasting, and it's a massive action sequence. So Din Djarin goes up there. He's like, okay, now I really got to get this kid. So he tries to go through the force field. Doesn't work. He tried this once before. I don't know why he tried it again, because it didn't work the first time. But I get why he tried it a second time, because the stakes were higher now. He was like, okay, maybe there is a way I can make my way through this. So he starts to stick his hands through it, and he's like almost there, and then he flies backward, gets knocked out for a good long minute, which is fine. Boba Fett gets some spotlight here, definitely. They're taking out stormtroopers left and right. I mean him clubbing these things and hitting them in the head and smashing them up. I mean, holy shit! I mean, that was amazing. It was super badass, and I'm like, all right, fans are going to be digging this. Any Boba Fett fan that wanted to see Boba like this, even though we've never gotten him like this before for some reason, it's one of my bigger problems with Boba Fett. And, it's fine. You have an imagination, but we've never seen Boba Fett at that capacity. But fans kind of picture him like that, too, for some reason. Like this super badass guy, and they just feel like he needs to be that for some reason. I guess because Empire kind of built him to that too, with the no disintegrations, and there's legends stuff, but I feel like in the new canon that doesn't need to be that way. However, they did it, and it's cool. Like, it really helps me like the character more. That's not exactly what won me over. I'll get to that in a minute, but it was helpful. You know what I mean? It's an added bonus when we can see them smashing in stormtroopers' heads. That was fucking cool. I mean, we don't really get to see a lot of that. So, moving into, Din Djarin's, he's down there. They're getting rid of stormtroopers left and right. One of the things they flash to is, Boba Fett, turns to the Razor Crest. He sees the doors open. I'm thinking, well, he's gonna go get his armor and bail. Like, I'm serious. Like, that was my thought process right here. And Din Djarin comes down. He sees that, oh, they're still fighting, but it's him and Fennec now, just fighting these things, and he's trying to take them out. And a second transport comes, which was crazy. So they're taking out these stormtroopers and left and right. I mean, really, you could tell Robert Rodriguez took from a video game, right? Like, he was so inspired by video games, and it's clear to me, and that's okay. Like, it really is. I'm fine with that. Just, there was a couple things to me that were far-fetched about it, but for the most part, he worked really well, and the style was very gritty and edgy, and he does that very well. Also, it reminded me of, the more of the From Dusk Till Dawn or Once Upon a Time in Mexico Robert Rodriguez than the modern Robert Rodriguez that we would typically get now. Not that that's a bad Robert Rodriguez. I'm just saying that it's two different Robert Rodriguez's in my opinion. Like, but no, he's going back to his old style, very edgy filmmaking, machete. You know what I mean? Very machete. The way he shot the action. So he was just destroying these stormtroopers. Boba Fett was well, no, I'm sorry. Mando or Din Djarin takes out his I forgot what they're called. They're not fireflies, are they? It's called something like that. I can never remember the name of those damn things. It's not fireflies. It's like whistling something, whistling birds maybe. So, he takes out like multiple of these things at once, and then Boba Fett shows up in the armor, and I'm just picturing fans right here going, screaming and just being so stoked about this because honestly, I get it. Like, it was fucking cool. Like, it was super fucking cool. And then he can really hone in. He's got his armor back. He can hone in, take out these troopers, and he is, man. He's blowing shit up, this guy. Hops back into the slave one. Well, no. Sorry about that. There's this whole thing about unleashing the dark troopers, right, with Gideon. So they start to flash to him. And so these dark troopers come down, go out to the top of the Seeing Stone. I like the way it was executed here, where you got Mando or Din Djarin and Fennec running up the mountain to try to save this kid. The dark troopers get the kid. So sad. So that's when, and before they do that, actually, they blow up the Razor Crest, which is a big fucking deal. Like, we spent so much time with the ship. Can you imagine if they like blew up the Millennium Falcon or something? Damn. One other thing I missed. Let's go back a second, because when Boba Fett comes in wrecking shop, the two transports take off, right? And they're like, okay, we got to get out of here. So they start taking off, and Boba Fett, he shoots one of them. And then it blows up, and then I loved it, man. The visual was cool, man. The one transport going and hitting the other, and then they both blew up, and then Mando goes, nice shot, and he's like, this is one of the other things. It was a personality quirk, and I really loved when he was like, I was aiming for the other one. Like, I thought he was cool when he said that, but it was so funny at the same time, like, hysterical, very funny. And I was like, oh, I'm starting to like this Boba Fett guy. I really am starting to like Boba Fett. That was cool, Real feel good kind of action movie joke there. And it worked. It really worked. It was like something you'd hear out of an 80s action movie. It was a good line. Just that one little subtle line did so much for him as a character for me. So that was part of it. When he moves in, here is where they start. They're going to take, the Dark Troopers take the child. Dark Troopers are real Iron Man like, right? I didn't mind that entirely, like, because we've never seen it in Star Wars before. They're robots, essentially. Well, we've seen it, like, in Legends, but never canon, I should say. Sorry about that. Or definitely nothing live action. So they pick up Grogu, and they take him back to the thing, and Boba Fett's trying to track him down. Like, he hops into Slave One pretty much immediately and tries to get him, but he can't. So he moves down. And I thought it was so cool that he just immediately went after this child. I'm sitting there thinking, wait, what the hell? You know what I mean? Why does he want the child? Or why do they want the child? They come down, and I thought this was amazing when they were. Well, the first thing he did, he tells Din Djarin, like, I want to show you something. And he pulls up this thing about, his family tree and everything, and it's revealed, and this is a big question that a lot of fans have had about Boba and Jango Fett for a very long time. Jango Fett was Mandalorian, to the same capacity that Din Djarin was, or is. So it's pretty cool. Obviously, they're not as cultists, especially now. I mean, with Boba, I mean, his armor already got apparently taken from him on Tatooine, so he's like, screw it, I'll take my helmet off. So they have different ideals, but they are actual Mandalorians, and then that is pretty cool. So that's another aspect of this character that I'm just really enjoying. And then the next thing is pretty awesome, which is that he tells Mando, this is what won me over. He tells Din Djarin, deal's not over. Well, he says I think Din Djarin says deal's over, you can bail. And he's like, no, deal's not over, not quite yet. I'm sitting there going, oh shit, what does Din Djarin owe them? And he says, we didn't hold up our end. We said that the child would, be unharmed, and so he says we're going to we owe you a life debt, which is something that's a callback to I was a callback to Phantom Menace, and so I was like, oh, that is so cool, like, and they do, I guess. We owe you a life debt till this child, is unharmed. So I like what this is setting up. Man, we're gonna have Boba Fett and Fennec moving in to help save this child. I think we're gonna get a whole team of people here, which we'll get to in a minute. So next thing Din Djarin does is he goes to Cara Dune, and I think a lot. I understand it. I think some people are gonna have a problem with the fact he kind of had a sense of humor to with her. Sorry, and he said, Cara Dune, Marshal of the New Republic, like he was being jokey, but I really liked it. I see where Rodriguez got the he got the inspiration. It was kind of like Bond and Moneypenny, right, from the Bond films. I think Rodriguez is a huge Bond fan, so it was like, oh, he's kind of making Cara Dune, Din Djarin's Moneypenny, right? So I thought that was cool. So if you guys are Bond fans, you'll understand that relationship, and that's kind of how it was. It was kind of cool. And the other part of it is, I think Din Djarin's like, oh man, he just went through so much. He lost his ship. He lost a lot. Lost the child Grogu, and yeah. So there was, he's probably looking for a little bit of funny right now, just something to lighten the tone. I don't think he wants to come there and just straight out tell Cara either, because we've seen before Cara loves the child too. I mean, she really does. Everybody cares about this damn child, and Cara's one of that. She's one of them. She's no exception to that. So it made sense to me that he would kind of want to lighten the tone, not come straight out like, oh, oh yeah, they got him. Um, just because he probably doesn't want to break her heart with that news right away. But what he does ask her is he wants to break out Mayfeld, and I'm like, oh shit, because Mayfeld could probably break into the ship pretty easily. He'd be good help. Mayfeld was the character played by Bill Burr in the last season, right? In episode 6, the one directed by Rick Famuyiwa, and that makes a lot of sense to me because Rick Famuyiwa is going to be directing next episode, so we'll probably see Bill Burr there. Obviously, I would imagine he kind of brought that character in. He'll bring him back, and I'm excited to see his character again because I really liked Mayfeld. I thought he was cool, and Bill Burr does a fantastic job playing him. I want to see Bill Burr do anything, but so the point is, so she's like, yeah, she'll help him out. She finds him. She's like, what do you want with him? And so this is like when he tells Cara they took the kid, and the look on her face is like distraught, right? So I think they're gonna have a whole team. It's gonna be Cara Dune, Din Djarin, Boba Fett, Fennec. Damn, he should go pick up Cobb Vanth while they're at it, right? While they're on Boba Fett's Slave One. One thing I hope, though, with the Slave One, since we got it now, is that we see the seismic charges again from Attack of the Clones. Is those things are some of my favorite things in all of Star Wars. Those things sound cool when they go off. So I hope he uses them at some point here. He gets a chance to. That'd be cool if that's how they take out the Star Destroyer there. That that Grogu's on. That'd be cool. But who knows? We'll see. So yeah, I think Cara Dune's probably gonna go help Din Djarin now at this point. But either way, they're gonna get Mayfeld out of jail, and they're gonna go get the child. He's probably gonna help him break into the ship. We saw that he was good, obviously, with heists in the previous season here. So, excuse me, it would make a lot of sense to me if we did that. So, moving into, we get another Imperial scene. I love any time we can get one of these Imperial scenes where we get to see Moff Gideon some more. We see their ship going through hyperspace, and damn, this stagecraft technology, I'm telling you, it's getting really good. So they walk in, they have the child in basically a cell, and he's just force choking out stormtroopers left and right here. And I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh. And Gideon is just watching. Like, Giancarlo Esposito really brought that character to menacing to ruthless, like in this episode. Just certainly ruthless. And he's really adding a lot of intimidation, a level of intimidation to this character. And man, he was really bad here just watching this child just and getting amusement out of it. The child just, force choking stormtroopers and throwing them all around, and he's like, oh man, I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. And then one of the callbacks to A New Hope is when one of the troopers goes, set for stun. And he's like, no, 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 no. The set for stun line was taken straight from New Hope. Come on. But so he goes up to the child. He's like, you ever see one of these? Because the child starts to go to sleep, right? He's like, that wears you out. You ever seen one of these? Pulls out the Darksaber again, and boy, did it look cool. It looked super cool. Yeah, it came straight out of Rebels and Clone Wars. I mean, it's the same Darksaber we saw in those series, and so cool to see him pull it out, and you're like, like damn, and child's about to like touch it almost, and he's just like, So then he says, tell Dr. Persia, which this is going to be an interesting character, I bet you, that we have the child. So, yeah, not the child, the donor. I'm sorry. So he's going to be donating something, some kind of blood, It's going to be a blood transfusion of some sort to do something. Obviously, we still don't know. We think it has to do with cloning, probably because of what we saw in season 2, episode 4. With the Snokes in those bacta tanks, or they looked like Snoke, and we all know now Snoke was a clone of some sort. So they're using that DNA for something along those lines. Is kind of the line of thinking here, but. Yeah, guys, a lot going on, and in an episode that was only a half hour, it was quite a bit to cram in there, but the important question is, what did you guys think of the episode? Did you like it? Did you love it? Were you like, it's not really one of my favorites? Certainly not my personal favorite of the season, but damn, it was good for that half hour, and there was a lot of action in the moments. And you guys know my issues with it. I kind of went over those. Can't wait to see what happens next week as far as speculation. I think I've already given that. I think Din Djarin's building up his army, and they're all going to go in and try to save this kid. I mean, everything's for the kid, right? That's been the driving force of the story this entire time. Obviously it's a huge surprise that no Jedi showed up. I know everybody was like, there's probably going to be a lot of people disappointed because they were speculating that a Jedi would show up when the Grogu sat on the Seeing Stone, and no Jedi did show up, and that was a huge shock. But I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with them doing things that aren't necessarily predictable. Do I still think a Jedi is gonna show up by the end of it? Yeah, I do. I'm not necessarily like, it wouldn't ruin it one way or the other, especially with the direction they took it here, but that's just my thoughts. So anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Once again, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comments section, and share this with your friends. That's much appreciated. Thank you very much. Let me know what you thought of the episode. I've been Dom Martino. This has been Dom Solo, and I will see you guys next Friday to talk about Season 2, Episode 7. We only have 2 left, guys. So thank you for tuning in, and take care. Bye-bye.